Right, well, the pre-show has begun, Brian.
Yes, it has.
Yes, it has, and we're driving around looking for some impala babies.
Yes.
Yes. Now, this part of the show, for those of you who are wondering what on earth's going on, is supposed to be some kind of method by which you will know that we're live. And that you can then subscribe, and you can click the little bell, and the little bell will then go bing when we are live. I, of course, have taken this as free license to do what I like while live, which I think is the far better approach, don't you, Brian?
I do.
Yes. So what I thought we'd do today is have a little song.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. I'm not sure what song yet. Do you have any suggestions, Brian? Just to warm the vocal cords, you know?
Oh, I could give you a beat and you could just...
Okay, why don't you give me a beat, and then what I will do is sing to your beat as opposed to rap to it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, okay.
Are you
Drop
ready?
a beat. Okay, I need to think of a song
Right.
now.
Let's slow it down. Take it back now.
Nessun dorma, nessun dorma, in mi I like the pizza, yes I do. Do you like pizza like I do? Pepperoni is my favorite pizza. Why have you stopped filming?
I'm not stopping filming.
Why have you stopped beating? And then I was also very kindly, Brian sent a new warming up exercise. You know how we like to say Benedict Cumberbatch. Benedict Cumberbatch. And then red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. Now, what we have to say is black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket.
Black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket.
Black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket, black yellow jacket, yellow leather jacket, black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket, black yellow jacket, black
leather jacket, yellow leather jacket.
black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket, yellow leather jacket, black yellow jacket, yellow leather jacket, black
leather.
Yes, not black yellow.
Black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket, black leather jacket.
Exactly. Black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket, black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket, black leather jacket, yellow leather jacket. It's raining.
Wonderful. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan?
Yes.
Good heavens, I say. There's a pig. It is running away.
There it goes.
It does not wish to be made into pepperoni, pepperoni. Pepperoni pig. That's also another good one, Brian said.
Pepperoni pig.
Pepperoni pig pizza, pepperoni pig pizza, pepperoni pig pizza, 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 pepperoni pig pizza, pepperoni pig pizza. Pepperoni pig pizza, pepperoni pig pizza, pepperoni pig pizza, pepperoni pig pizza, pepperoni pig pizza. That's a good one.
That was a very good
We'll do it again.
A good top 5.
A good top 5 beat hit.
Yes.
I really quite liked the opera mixed with a hip-hop beat.
It was different.
Oh. Kirsten played crickets from the final control. She didn't think it was very good at all. But she does have red hair, of course, which means that her brain doesn't function the same way as most people.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to a very drizzly afternoon. And of course, this is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon, and again, welcome. It's very drizzly here on this sunset safari. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me, we've got David. Now, it's very grey and glum this afternoon, but we're not going to let the weather get us down, because we're going to find the Nkahumas. So how could your day be glum and sad when you're going to see the impalas? Let's just turn this right down, because we know what that means. It means that the rest of the crew are out and about, also attempting to look for the animals. But we're going to find them first. And something that I'm also doing this afternoon, as we drive along this newly graded road, which is quite nice after a little bit of drizzle, is that we're going to go past the area where I saw that serval very briefly this morning and see if it hasn't perhaps come out of hiding. And we're just getting to where we saw it, so I'm going to keep my eyes nice and open, or nice and wide and open, to have a look for them. But so far, the only ones I've got is a big herd of impala hiding in the thicket, and that's not a bad place to be. You can see some of them are leaping around. They've got a bit of a spring in their step, as it has stopped. Well, it hasn't been drizzling for the last few hours, but it has started again now. But it's really just a fine mist. You can see a couple of them still wagging their tails around, so that hasn't stopped the flies, this weather. It seems as though they're still out and about. It's very quiet, not too many birds out chirping either. Right, let's carry on. Now, of course, you know that James is out with us this afternoon, and Brian and the thumb, and I'm not even sure what the thumb is this afternoon. I've completely forgotten, but of course that'll be a surprise in a moment's time. Now, I believe James was singing. I don't know if I've got any good songs today, not that I can sing, but perhaps I shall attempt to rap, but I'll need to prepare a rap this time. I'm not feeling as spontaneous as I was the other day. But we'll think of one. We'll get a good one. Maybe I'll rap about this rain. Or the Nkahumas. We can make a rap about the Nkahumas. And I've got lots of surprises for you when we eventually find them again. I found Amanda kindly helped me and told me the name of what I'd like to call Little Floppy Ear. But I won't tell you just yet. We'll wait till we get there. And we'll see if you like it or not. Hopefully you will. I think it's quite sweet. I'm carrying on along here. My goodness. Now, I haven't seen any signs of that serval, unfortunately. So it looks as though it's still in hiding. But that's okay. I know someone who isn't in hiding. Let's go across to James while I try and get over this ginormous mountain of sand.
Right, good afternoon everybody. For those of you who didn't watch the pre-show ridiculousness, my name is James Henry. Brian is on camera. Hello, Brian. Would you like to describe your thumb to us today?
It is a... oh,
Hang on everybody, we have much rain, so there's a rain cover.
It is a woodland ninja.
A woodland ninja?
A woodland ninja thumb.
Why wouldn't it be? And could you explain what's going to happen to it over the next few days?
To celebrate Movember, it's going to grow a potent moustache.
A potent moustache.
Oh, yes. All right.
Very nice. Now, that's enough silliness. We're on serious safari here, serious sunset safari. Those are some buffalo over there. Please talk to us. Hashtag safariLIVE, questioned at wildearth.tv. It was a pretty active morning, so I'm hoping for a pretty active afternoon today. We'll see what we find. We're doing our sort of traditional foray down to the south to see if we can't pick up tracks of Karula, see if she came across, especially on a day like today. It is quite possible. then we have seen a couple of elephants off to the far side of where we are now. But I don't think we're going to be able to get to them without making a tremendous amount of noise and perhaps sinking into a seep line. So we'll just sit with these beefies for a little while and see if the elephants don't come a bit closer. And that is about all I have to tell you during the course of this greeting. Now we can get on to the serious business, Brian, of biology. I do have to tell you, of course, it was supposed to be 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. It feels, I suppose roughly that when the wind isn't blowing. I also have to say that while I was going for a little run today, and the southeast wind was blowing rain into my face, I thought to myself, I've so often said to you that we don't normally get rain from the southeast, and it normally comes from the northwest if we're going to have a big storm. Well, I mean, look, it didn't storm today. This is definitely frontal weather, but we've had a good amount of rain, and indeed the southern Sabi Sand is in a great state of celebration because they have had their first proper rains of the season. And that means all of these buffalo, or some of them, some of the impala and some of the wildebeest herds, remember we've had 5 or 6 different wildebeest herds here, and some of the elephants as well, will start to spread out a bit. So this incredible boom time that we've had over the last little while, unfortunately, is probably going to come to an end. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to see interesting things, but we're just going to have to look a little bit harder. These buffalo will eventually congregate into their larger herds as well. I mean, I have never seen a time when we had buffalo herds of sort of 10 or 15 animals. It's very odd. And if you are joining us for the first time and wondering what's going on here, we're broadcasting to you from the Kruger National Park, the western edge of the Kruger Park. And there is a collection there of private reserves called the Sabi Sand, and we're on one of those little reserves called Djuma. We traverse cheetah plains to the far east of where we are now, not as far as Vladivostok or Beijing, not even as far as the Mozambican border, but we traverse a little place there called Cheetah Plains, and then to the west, Arathusa. And all in all, that's about 10,000 acres or so, 3,500 hectares. Now, Debbie, you're in Vancouver and sort of picking up on a theme that I've been following for the last little while. You said the buffalo seem to have suffered more than many of the other grazers. I agree that they have completely. So while we drive down the road, I'll explain to you why I think that's the case. Normally, if you read a textbook, and of course animals are very poor at reading textbooks, and so they don't really learn from the books how they're supposed to behave. But if you read a textbook, they will tell you that during the summer months, when there are little puddles of water all over the place and food is plentiful, the herds will split up slightly, and you'll get herds around this area of sort of 100 to 200 animals, maybe 50 at the sort of very smallest. And then during the winter time, when the food concentrates and the water concentrates in permanent water holes or down on permanent perennial rivers, then you have a situation where the herds split up a little, at least congregate together, and then they get very big. Now, what happened this year, I think, is that the drought was so bad that those much bigger agglomerations, because we did have them for a little while, split up into much, much smaller units of that sort of 10 or 15 animals that have disappeared off the edges of their herds in desperate search of food, because they just simply were unable to move in those big numbers because there wasn't enough food for them to eat. Now, coupled with that is that the grass has run out. We've had some rain, but if you look, if Brian just shows you the length of the grass over here, you can see that it is very short indeed, and some might say non-existent, but that's about the longest that it gets there. Now, a buffalo's grazing strategy is to use its tongue. It wraps its tongue around long grass leaves and then pulls them into its mouth. It has very limited ability to crop short grass like, say, an impala or a steenbok is able to. And that means that they have been spending their time browsing. Now, they can browse intermittently, but remember that the leaves of grasses and the leaves of trees have got a totally different suite of chemical compounds in them. And the leaves of trees specifically have got a lot of defensive mechanisms, specifically tannins. And those tannins can eventually stop up the digestive system of an animal. And if you're not especially equipped to deal with them, you just don't get the nutrients from them. So I've watched buffalo doing a huge amount of browsing lately. And I think that's why, even though the drought has broken, they've been unable to continue eating. Now, if we look at impala, for example, they're also not looking great, but they can eat the shorter grass. They can also browse. They're mixed feeders, and buffalo really don't, I mean, they can browse, but they don't go into the category of mixed feeder. The browsers, the giraffe, the kudu, the nyala, they're all looking pretty good, I think. And so they've managed to, as soon as the first flush of leaves came from the trees, they ate the trees, and they're doing okay. It's the grazers that have had a little bit of trouble, and this, even things like steenbok are looking a bit ropey. They're starting to put on condition more, and interestingly, the female impala look better than the males, and I don't know why that should be the case, because the females, of course, are under huge nutritional and physiological strain. They're about to give birth. I'm hoping today, that was my bet today, that they would give birth. I haven't seen a little impala lamb yet, but if we see a steenbok, we'll pretend it's an impala lamb, and then we'll claim credit, won't we, Brian? No. Yes, we will. What do you mean, no? All right, Taylor has got an elephant in plain view. Let's go and take a look at it.
Now, like James said, we've got a herd of elephants, which is fantastic, but unfortunately, they're exactly where the lions were this morning, and the lions are not here anymore, so I don't know where they've disappeared to. We're going to have to try and find them. And I wonder if this is not the herd of elephants that I heard earlier this morning in the distance, sort of moving through the drainage line, coming this way. You could hear them breaking branches and things. Seems as though they've finally arrived. You can see that little one is quite happy, and they're very relaxed, these ellies. So those lions could have moved already, but we'll sit and listen and see if they maybe do react. But like I said, there's an entire herd here. Some of them are have already been feeding exactly where those lions were laying. So I'm trying to work out which way they would have gone. I haven't seen any tracks just yet. So I'm trying to work it out. I think we'll go a little bit further north, and then we shall come back south and see what's going on. But at least we've got this wonderful little elephant to look at. A very wrinkly forehead as well. You see those crease lines? I always think that's quite funny on the various elephants, especially the youngsters. We know that Benjamin Button has got the wrinkliest head of all elephants I've ever seen. And this one has got beautiful horizontal lines on its head. Very carefully picking at what it wants to eat. And I don't know if you saw that, but there were a couple of impala that moved right behind that elephant. You can actually see them. And they also seem very relaxed. I think they've gone now. But the impala are everywhere. And we know what sound they make when they see the lions. So my suspicions are maybe they weren't even chased away. Maybe they just up and moved. At one point, I think about an hour after the show ended this morning, it bucketed down with rain. And I don't think that any of the trees that are around here would be sufficient cover, so perhaps they moved deeper into the thicket. But let's go north. Let's go towards sort of Quarry Pan side and just have a little look around there. Perhaps we'll also check Buffle's Hook and see if there's any activity. But we'll see, won't we? And we have to find the Nkahumas, because I have to tell you about the name that a name. Oh, hang on, let's check here for, of course, that little floppy-eared cove. No, just loads and loads of impala tracks. Right. Leons, where are you? Well, the rain is actually getting a little bit heavier now. It's not quite just a mist anymore. You're going to have to put your cam cover. Okay, what we're going to have to do is David's going to very quickly have to put his cam cover on. There was the one rain cover we didn't have on because the rain was a little bit lighter. But what we're going to do is, because it's quite a hectic process, I think we're going to have to go across to James for this one, but we'll see you in a bit.
Well, it is a hectic process, of course, but if you're like Brian Joubert, you're prepared, aren't you, Brian? Yes. Now, here is a beautiful Nkuhuma tree as we drive underneath it. Taylor is looking for the Nkuhuma Pride. They were named for this tree. This tree doesn't relate exactly which tree, but that's it. And that's a brown ivory tree, everybody. Berkemia discolor. And if you want to remember, if you are interested in sort of scientific names, which are not particularly interesting in and of themselves, I always remember that one because discolor is well, it's a nice way to remember brown, of course, which is very few people's favorite color. I don't know anybody whose favorite color is brown. Do you, Brian? I always used to wonder why it was that so many school uniforms were brown. Dreadful. Anyway, that's an aside. Now, there's some impala down here. We're going to drive very carefully along the southern boundary to see if we can't perhaps find some evidence of Kurula. And then we might do the west, and see if we can't find shadow as well. We had a lovely time with her the other afternoon, but I think she went straight back into Simbambili after that. Duncan, this is a question that comes up quite a lot, and it's an interesting one. You say, would we ever consider using GPS collars for all the animals? In other words, I'm assuming you mean so that we could find them more easily. And the answer is no, absolutely not. And the reason for that is that, well, first of all, it would be an extremely expensive process. Secondly, half the fun of doing what we do is that this is a natural system. It's a wild area. We don't know what we're going to see around the corner. That's a kind of safariLIVE cliche. You never know what you're going to find around the next corner, and you don't. And that's part of the joy of being out here in the wild. Yes, of course, we could dart all the leopards and all the lions and put chips in them, and then we could have a big iPad display here or something like that, which had a map of all the animals and where they were. Distressingly, eventually, I suppose it will probably get to that, but hopefully not in my lifetime. And I just think it would ruin the experience. There's something also quite romantic about actually tracking, about finding the tracks of an animal and then following them and finding the animal, and it's one of the great skills that our human ancestors developed, and probably indeed the first science. So, you know, for lots of different reasons, I think and I hope that GPS tracking will never become a reality for something like this. It certainly would mean that we had cats on tap all the time, I suppose, but yeah, that would just, I think it would detract from the experience quite significantly. Of course, I say that now when we've had such a boom time, but you know, when we get to February and everything's green, there's water all over the place, and we drive around for 3 hours and see one steenbok and one duiker, well, then I might want to reconsider. Huge termite mound on our left-hand side there. There isn't a leopard on top of it, so we'll just keep going, Brian, I think, don't you? Yes. Now, the roads, of course, are capped with a very hard crust after the rain, and so this firebreak road here, which is pretty much the southern boundary, is a good one to drive because it's a little bit softer. So if there are sort of fresh tracks, we probably would be able to see them on this road. But you don't know. Yes, Aaron, in New Zealand, it's been much, much, much too long. You say you feel like an Mvula sighting would be good on drive. It would be so nice. I haven't seen that cat for a very long time, but look, 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 look. Oh, damn it. That bird did its trick without warning us with its call. That's the red-crested korhaan, everybody. That's why I was reversing. I saw it walking. Anyway, let's just stick with it. Aaron, the last we heard of Mvula was when he was mating with Shiluva, I think it was. And his mating with Shiluva has resulted... well, since then he's disappeared, so I'm not sure where he is. I think he has been on and off on Buffelshoek, so I think he's just moved north. Shall we see if we can make it do it again? It's not fooled, is it, Brian? Now, the red-crested korhaan, for those of you who don't know, and many of you do know, of course, is also known as the suicide bird. And what it did when I got all excited was that it flew up and did its display. Where it flies up, it kind of stalls, and then plummets to the ground, opening its wings just in time not to hit the floor. And that's how it sort of marks its territory. Let's just see if it does it again, because it really is quite entertaining to watch. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll cheat a little bit. I'll play its call. My whistling clearly was not sufficient to inspire it. Come on, yes, field guide, korhaan, search, red-crested. Not on that page. Right, here we go. That's its beak clicking that goes before the call. You can hear the beak clicking, as can the bird. Here we go. He looks quite suspicious, doesn't he? Now, hopefully he'll do his display for us now. Come on, you recalcitrant bird. Okay, let's stop it now. Come on. I also heard in the background Brian's favourite relative of this bird, the black-bellied bustard, which went, Brian? Very good. Okay, I'm going to give it one more chance by giving the vehicle a bit of a slap. Hold on. Sometimes that works. Yes. Here we go. Watch, here we go. Here we go. Here he goes. Here he goes. Fly, bird. Julia, wondering whether he sleeps in the ground on a tree. He sleeps on a tree as far as I know. Why, bird? Come on. I've never got this on film. Here we go. Now fly. Fly, little bird, fly. He doesn't like the tapping, does he? He's so uncooperative. Okay, last chance. And he's called red-crested, everybody. You only see the crest come out the back of his head there when he's thinking about mating. And he's trying to dance for a female, and he pushes this beautiful red crest out the back of his head. He's going to do this as you link away, I know it. Oh, bird. Look how beautifully camouflaged he is when he turns around. Isn't that brilliant? And actually, if you get close to them, if you look at the back of their heads, they look like snakes. Looks a little bit like a snake head. The black-bellied bustard more so. Deeply suspicious, isn't he, Brian? No. Oh well, we did our best. I don't suppose we should harass the poor fellow too much. Right, Taylor McCurdy, where others have failed, she has succeeded, and she has found the Djuma Pride.
We did indeed. We just stumbled across them just off Quarry Pan Road, and we arrived just in the nick of time to see the wonderful tree climbing Djumas, which we love so much. I'll turn this radio right off. There we go. And it was perfect. So we have to say thank you very much to the elephants, firstly, for pushing over this marula tree, probably a couple of years ago, because it has now made the perfect jungle gym for these lions to climb on, and a very easy one to climb up too. And I think that now that two of them have made their way up it, you probably heard the elephants trumpeting in the distance. I reckon that the others will come and join them up here as well. Now it seems as though all 5 lionesses are here, and all those wonderful 8 cubs are here too. But still no Birmingham. And they're edging closer and closer, of course, to Buffelshoek Dam. And this one has found a piece of baboon's tail, which is obviously quite nice to play with. Be careful, little ones, that's high up into that tree. You can see those younger cubs still struggling, unlike the older cub at the back, who is very well equipped at climbing now and really completed the balancing sort of section of their training. Now, I don't think that this is a very good place to sort of play fight on, as I think that even though these cubs are very tough, if they fell off, they'd probably be okay. Oh, just as I said that. Very embarrassed, running away now. Yeah. But luckily, cats always seem to land on their feet. Oh, there we go. That's a bit better. Safer option. Practice on that lower one first, and then make your way up to the top. Oh my goodness. They are a wild bunch this afternoon, just the way I like the Djumas. Can you hear the zebras alarming? They're not far. We're quite close to Buffelshoek Dam, so I wonder if that's where the zebra are. The lions don't seem to be showing too much interest. The adults are actually looking at something in the drainage line. It's quite difficult, unfortunately, to see them because of all the trees. I've parked in favor, of course, of these cubs tree climbing. But, of course, if anything exciting happens with the adults, I will shuffle around and we'll get a better view. Did you see that little one just fall right off? Now, Trevor, you're wondering when was the last time that the Djumas made a kill? I've got to try and think about it because I haven't really seen Djumas. I think it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday. So two days ago, they were feeding on a buffalo. The last time was in fact when they were in Arethusa, so that could have even been 3 days ago, which is unusual because they were on a streak at one point where they were taking down a buffalo every single day. How incredible is that? So they're going to be hungry. Now this little one is tearing into what once was a baboon's tail. Of course, I'm talking about a plant, which is also known as black stick lily. That's a common name for it. And it's made the perfect chew toy. It's quite fibrous. You can see it pulling it apart quite easily. Excuse me. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? Now, remember, we are on a live safari, and if you'd like to send in questions like Trevor just did, you can either hashtag safariLIVE on Twitter, or you could even send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv. Now, you can see I put my rain cover on, which I thought was a bit silly because it's actually quite hot now, but it's okay. I'll bake in here for a little bit. Oh, careful. you can see exactly what's happened here now. Earlier I said that once one climbs up the tree, they're probably all going to. Don't squash floppy ear. And I'm going to tell you about the name for floppy ear in just a moment, but I want to very quickly answer a new viewer's question whose name is David. Now, I know it wasn't the David on the camera because I didn't see him texting, and he would have got a stern reprimanding if he was doing that. But David, welcome, and I hope you're enjoying this. You've come at a really good time to start watching. Now, you were wondering, how old do lions get in the wild? There's a perfect bum shot over there that you can get. That's very nice. And I must tell you, David, it varies quite a bit. The females can live up to 15, 16 years old. That's quite old for a female. The males don't live as long. They typically will live not longer than about, I would say, 12 years old at absolute max. Sorry, I'm trying to think. Maybe about 10 years old would be a typical lifespan. And that's just because, unfortunately, life is quite tough for the males, especially once they get chucked out of their prides as young adults and have to sort of move in between the territories of other males until they're old enough to take on one for themselves. Now we're looking at our beautiful little floppy-eared girl. Now I want to tell you the name that I thought suited her quite nicely. And it's a Tsonga word for cheeky or naughty, something along those lines. Obviously, English language is quite complex, and some of these other African languages don't have exact words for the English words, of course. So Amanda, our chef, has helped me. I sort of described her personality. And she said, Delela is quite a nice word. So Delela, remember I said it sounds similar to Delilah. Obviously it's not Delilah. So you spell Delela, D-E-L-E-L-A. And that supposedly means sort of cheeky, naughty, feisty. A word that sort of combines, and it describes her personality exactly. So what do you think of that? I think it's quite nice, but if not, well, we can always think of another one.
What is it?
Delela. Delela. There we go. David's also trying to learn it. So what do you think, girl? Do you like your name, Delela? Let's see, this lioness is coming to intervene with these cubs. Let's see what she does. Perhaps she's going to climb the tree too. Oh, my goodness. A second lioness is coming over. Party on the marula, and those two are playing tug of war. Now that's obviously quite so careful. You're going to get pushed off. Oh, not letting go though. Still holding on. Yeah, unfortunately, little one, you lost that battle. And I think it was unfair though. I think that young lion, or one of the lionesses, pushed it off. I think it was unfair. I think we need a rematch. Goodness, everybody's waking up now. Isn't this just absolutely magical? Oh, little one, maybe go to a lower branch. Oh, no, you're going to do it. There you go. That's where those claws come in handy. Look at that little one. Don't jump on Mom's back from there. Come on, go and see what those zebra are shouting all about. Oh, my goodness, look at this. She's stretching right up. Let's see if she's going to jump up. Now, that was quite incredible. That really gave you an idea of how tall that lioness is. Perhaps if these lions move away, I'll go and stand next to that tree and you can really see how tall these lions actually are. But I'm not going to do it now, of course. That would be quite silly of me. But it looks like they're getting ready to move. Let's have a look at that lioness. Has got an injury on her bum. Can you see that? Not that one, the one that's just laid down. There's a raw... There we go. What's happened to her? No, now you've got to move, my lady. Sorry. Of course, as you can see, this is a live production. And when I say something, it seems as though the lions can understand me and then block my view. There we go. Now I can show you. Look at that. Those are puncture wounds. Those look like teeth mark or something. And I wonder if it's the same lioness that had the bite mark or on her elbow. I'm not sure. We saw it this morning. That's unusual. So perhaps there's been a bit of fighting going on, whether it was amongst the females or with a Birmingham, I'm not sure. And it seems as though there's some elephants moving in as well. I could hear them breaking branches. But let's take a moment. Let's just sit and listen. The zebra are alarming. The elephants are breaking branches. And, well, of course, the lions are climbing trees. Now, of course, as I said all those things, every single animal except the lions stopped doing what they were doing. You can see the two... Oh, careful. Now, Roger, you were wondering how old will the young lion cubs get before they start hunting? Well, it's quite interesting, and it's something that I saw for the first time was a couple of days ago, maybe almost a week ago now, where we saw the lionesses take down a young buffalo calf, but not kill it instantly. They sort of left it and allowed the young cubs to play with it and practice the techniques that they've been practicing on each other. So how incredible is that? I think that was an exception, though. Like I said, I've never seen that before. So I would say at about 1.5 years, they will start to go out on the hunts, but they will have to hang back and sort of watch and observe. But it's something that I'm quite excited for because they're going to ruin lots of hunts. Ooh, elephant just pushed a tree down. Sure, you could have heard that. It was very quick, though. So I'm just listening. There's a lot going on here. Like I said, the zebras, there's the elephants. The lionesses are up and they want to go somewhere. I don't know where they want to go. Those two are having a fight over the log, getting very rough with each other. I don't know where to look this afternoon. There's action all over. And I'm so glad to hear that you all seem to be enjoying the name Delilah that I've chosen for my favorite little lion. I'd like it. I think it's got quite a nice ring to it. Now, we're chatting briefly this morning, and we have been chatting over the past couple of weeks why we don't normally name the lionesses. But I think she's an exception. She had mange the worst, and we were all worried about her. But she's come back fighting, very much like her personality. So I think that she is deserving of a name. Ooh, they're getting very rough. Lorena, I have to agree with your comment. You said so much better than flip-flop. My goodness. 2 thumbs up to that comment. Sorry, Byron. We'll see. Hopefully, James will approve. We'll have to see what he thinks of that name. They really are enjoying this marula tree. And I've been so lucky with the nkuhumas since I've been here. I'm really just waiting for my luck to run out. I always catch them doing the most amazing things. They seem to be here at the right time. So thank you, nkuhumas, for being so wonderful. Oh my goodness, back up the tree with the baboon's tail again. Maybe this one is coming to have challenge the winner of the previous tug-of-war battle. Let's see. Yes, I'm going to go over and steal it from you. Oh, these elephants are getting much closer. Sounds like they're just on the other side of the drainage line now, and I think that's what some of the lionesses are looking at, as perhaps just keeping a close eye because they have got all these little cubs, and we have seen in the past how the lionesses react to the elephants. They usher the cubs away very quickly. as they do not want them to get squashed. It's incredible to see how now every one of these lions has got their own personalities. Some are more tolerant of others, and then you get little Delilah, who has got no tolerance and patience at all. And she's very feisty, and if anybody jumps on her, she swats back and growls and shows her teeth. And you get others like this that sort of play with each other and bite each other and don't really make too much sounds. They just play quietly and dangle off trees and eat baboon's tail. You can see how much their sort of movements have improved. Oh, let me turn the radio on very quickly. Andrew for Taylor. Are you coming to Quarry Pan Road, like I called in earlier?
I'm in the Quarry Pan now.
Okay, copy. Yeah, just keep coming down the road. I'm sitting on the road. You can't miss me.
Quarry Pan Road, and now then Drangsbeck, right?
Yeah, AFM, it runs south of Hippo Pools Road. It goes back around, I think, towards Buffelshoek Dam, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Quarry Pan Road.
Okay, good.
I'm just trying to get some of these guides into the sighting. Just double checking that I am. Yep, I am on Quarry Pan Road. I'll just keep my radio on though, just in case anybody gets lost and we have to guide them in. I'm wondering though, if they do take a little stroll down to Buffelshoek Dam, not that there'd be any reason for them to have to go that way, because there's lots of pools of water from the mud wallows that are full, so they could drink from those. But it'd be quite interesting to see if they go over towards Buffelshoek Dam, and if they see that buffalo carcass, and if they go and start eating it. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Right. We're going to continue watching these Nkuhumas, though, but I believe that James has got the animal that's making the same noises from across the drainage line.
Oh. I'm sure that's the noise she's hearing, all the snapping of trees. Here we go. Elephant cow, big one, sharp tusks, don't want to be on the end of those. She's checking us out quite carefully. The rest of her herd is behind her and then all the way around to the left. And she came across the road, gave us a bit of a look and a stare as if to say, don't cause trouble, Sonny Jim, and then she moved off. Now the rest of them are around here. And I think it's quite a large herd. Now, the other good news is that the weather seems to be clearing quite nicely. Look at this one here, Brian, moving its tree. You see, they love doing this because underneath these trees, remember we said at the beginning of the season when they were pushing all these trees over, we said often that they create a whole little ecosystem underneath them, and there you can see the perfect guinea grass plant that he's looking for. That's what he wants to eat. And the guinea grass grows under the trees in the shade, especially under an acacia tree, because an acacia tree is actually part of the legume family. And what it does is it puts nitrogen into the soil, and the panicum or guinea grass likes to grow in nitrogen-rich soil, and that's why it grows underneath those trees like that. So the whole little ecosystem has been created for the guinea grass, and that elephant now taking advantage of it. I'm pretty sure that the elephant that pushed that tree over had no idea that that would be the case. We have a whole lot more here. Now that thing's eating a jackalberry tree, just doing some pruning. Thankfully not damaging it too badly. It's quite a young cow. And there comes another cow. Oh, and there's a big vicious bull. Like all the bulls, they just like to see if they can't terrify the wits out of somebody. He's also thinking about pulling over a tree, but he's also, this is him having a look at us. He's pretending to feed. I don't mean to laugh at you, but you do look rather hilarious when you turn around like that and stick your tail in the air. Hello. Look at this amazing dexterity in the foot. Hammer, you're a new viewer. It's wonderful to hear from you. Hello. You say, what time of year do they give birth? Hammer, they don't give birth at any specific time. They're aseasonal breeders, which means they'll breed any time of the year. And you'll probably find that there's a slight peak of birthing during the wet season. But certainly they can give birth at any time of the year, Hammer. It's a 22 months gestation period, and it's not cyclical in the same way that the antelope have a cyclical, like the impala, for example, have a completely predictable birthing cycle. Can you see how the lights brightened up, everyone? I wonder if we won't have some sun before the end of the afternoon. It's turning into a really rather gorgeous time. It was very misty and kind of coastal, Brian said, as we moved out today, and it just seems to be lifting quite nicely now. Of course, this has been a wonderful day for the bush. Lots of rain all over, and of course for us, because we haven't been incinerated by the sun. All right, let's go a little bit forward because there's some others in front. What a very, very, very good inquiry, to which I'm not entirely sure I know the answer. I'm just going to... Never mind that one, Brian. It's in such deep bush. Vanessa, you're saying, why do we never see elephants mating? I've seen it once, but that's in 12 or 13 years, and I'm going to suspect because they do it at night. I think that's probably why. When it does happen, it's not like it's unobvious. What happens is the female must acquiesce to the male's request, otherwise she just walks off and it becomes impossible for him. But she's also got to reverse into him, and in order for that to happen, there's a huge amount of noise that goes on. Bushes get broken, no doubt millipedes get trampled, and so do scorpions and other animals living in the ground. And they also squeal. They make a huge noise, that loud noise that they make. So it's not like you can't tell if it's happening. And I think it's probably largely because they engage in the activity of procreation at night. So I'm going to say, Vanessa, that's probably why. In the background, you can hear the orange-breasted bushshrike. Gorgeous. Oh, and as the sun comes out, the Diedrich's cuckoos, at least the class's cuckoos, start to call. It's incredible. So do the larks, a couple of robins, some canaries, grey-headed bushshrike. All of them calling as it's got a little bit warmer. There's another little one coming across the road. You'll hear me pause slightly every time I say Brian's name because Byron is around and it's very difficult to say the two. Daniel, this is a very common misconception, and I had the same misconception until I became a guide. You say, why is it that elephant females are named after cows? They aren't. Daniel, what we do is we call female cattle cows, and male cattle bulls. So in the same way that we call female elephants cows and male elephants bulls, and in the same way that we call female whales are called cows too, and the males are called bulls. So it's just come into kind of English usage that when we say cow, we mean female cattle, when in actual fact the term cow doesn't refer to cattle, it refers to lots of different kinds of female mammals. So that's why. And this other one is now dragging a marula tree out the way. Let's move slightly forward. So Daniel, does that answer your question? It's certainly a very common misconception that people think that we are naming female animals after female cattle, but it isn't the case. So the animal that is a cow, or a traditional sort of farm animal cow, is actually, it's cattle. The name is cattle. That makes sense. And it comes from something called an auroch, which was a wild animal domesticated somewhere around North Africa in the Fertile Crescent about 10,000 years ago. Now we're watching these elephants being completely peaceful as they walk across the landscape here, feeding gently, not shouting, completely at peace, unthreatened. But Jarrett, who's a new viewer, and again, wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much for talking to us this afternoon, Jarrett. You say, have I ever seen a predator attack an elephant? I haven't. Not in this area. I've certainly seen documentary evidence of it, and it happens up in Botswana quite a lot. There are prides of lions there that have specialized in killing elephants at the end of the dry season when they're very weak and they can't defend themselves. That's up in Savuti. Down here, the only record I have heard of is of a clan of hyenas killing a young elephant that was crippled. But otherwise, I've heard absolutely nothing of lions killing elephants in this area. It would only be lions or a giant clan of hyenas that could take on an elephant in this area. And you know, elephants are so protective of their youngsters that it would be almost impossible. And the story of the hyena, and her name was Elvina, the elephant is what they called her. I'll tell you why they did that in a little while. She lived to about 5 years, and the herd looked after her and slowly walked with her for 5 years. And eventually, I think, probably at the back end of a very dry season, the herd realized that if they stayed with her, they would have to sacrifice themselves because they could not find enough food to eat at the speed at which she could walk. And also she was starting to require more and more to eat. She couldn't suckle anymore because she was a bit too old. And eventually the herd sacrificed her, which is a very, very sort of unusual thing for elephants to do. They're extremely defensive of each other. So it must have been, I imagine, a very heart-rending decision that herd had to make, that they were going to leave her to the elements, knowing almost certainly that she would die. Now that's, of course, anthropomorphizing the situation hugely. In other words, I'm placing human emotions into the animals, but I do believe elephants would have felt something in that kind of a way, something similar like that. Anyway, on we go. Right, I'm going to seriously test your skills here. A false tiger moth just landed on this scraggly knobthorn next to, you see where the knobthorn touches the gardenia up top there? Just where the far left part of the gardenia touches the knobthorn. There's the false tiger moth. You just keep going in there, up a bit, and a bit more. Keep going. Are we on the same tree? Yes, we are, definitely. To the right, there. Right a bit, up. No, right again. On that, you see that green branch there? You go up a little bit there.
can't see it.
It was there. Oh dear, it's gone. Oh well, it's a very beautiful moth, everybody, and it's so beautiful that I'm going to show you a picture of it, because I don't think if you saw it, you would think it was a butterfly, but it isn't. It's not a butterfly. Not at all, Brian. It's a moth.
A moth.
It's a diurnal moth, which means it's quite colourful.
So that's a picture.
Right. Have you got it?
No.
I'm going to try and find a picture. Oh, there it is. I found it already. My mummy gave me this book very long time ago, Brian, when I was a new guide. She thought I could do with some information. She was absolutely correct. There it is. See? And there is the false tiger moth. Sorry, Kirsten, you're going to have to go again with the name. Beautiful. Right, now we have a very special welcome from to the Rowan Prep School, Miss Parcell's class. Hello, welcome to Africa. I hope that you enjoyed this little interlude from your normal day in wintry England. I think you're in England. Yes, you are in England. That is correct. And, well, I hope that it's a wonderful sort of a summary sort of interlude to your winter. We're hopefully going to see some nice animals here today. Ask us lots of questions. Anything you like about Africa or the animals that we're hopefully going to see. We were sitting with some elephants, but they've wandered off into the bush. But they're going in a certain direction, so I think we're going to try and cut them off, and we'll try and see if we can't see them for you. So you're with us, I think, for the next hour or so, or maybe it's only half an hour. We're going to do our very best to find you as many things as possible. So while we drive, I'll just tell you a little bit about where we are. We're in what we call the Kruger Park, which many of you may have heard of. It's an iconic national park of Africa, and it's a huge area. And you're of course living in Surrey, which is a beautiful part of the world. I've been there myself. Oh, there's an elephant. Look. That elephant's breaking a tree. But this park, everybody, is about the size of Wales. Same size as the country of Wales. So it's a massive, massive area. We don't drive around the whole area, of course. We just drive through a small area of about 3,500 hectares. Now look at that young elephant, probably only about, let's say, 10 years or so, and very happy that the summer's come, and you can see it's eating green grass, you know, for a long time, all the way from, say, June up until about midway through October. It was grey and brown here. There was very little green stuff for the animals to eat, but we've had a bit of rain now, and so we've got beautiful green grass coming out of the ground. You can see the trees have turned lovely spring summer green. And that is a little elephant, probably a bull, just on the sort of back end of a really large herd. And Emma, you're wondering what the temperature is. It's about 26 or 25 degrees Celsius, which is a wonderful temperature. But yesterday, Emma, it was 37 degrees Celsius over here. So it was really, really hot indeed. Very happily eating there. Now, my friend Taylor is sitting with probably the animal that all of you want to see the most while you're on safari with us. Go and take a look.
Hello, I want to say a very special hello and a welcome to all the lovely children at Rowan's Prep School. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me we've got David. Now, I'm sure you're very excited for what I've got to show you. Have a look at the lions! And not just any lions, but my favorite pride of lions, or family of lions, in the whole wide world. Now, these are two young cubs. that have decided that they quite like to climb trees this afternoon and practice their balancing and stalking. It looks like this one is going to maybe chase after one of its brothers or sisters. Let's see what they get up to. But in this pride of lions, there are 5 lionesses, so those are the girl lions. And then there are 8 little cubs, so little baby lions running around. But some of them seem to have settled down now. It looks like they are tired, and you know what it's like after you've had lunch and you've been playing around in the playground. You're quite tired afterwards, and you need to have a break, maybe even a little sleep. And I think that's what some of these lion cubs are now doing, is that they're hungry. They've been running around lots. They've used up all their energy. But hopefully there'll be 1 or 2 that will carry on playing with us. Playing for us, of course. Now, if you've got any questions for me, I'd love to hear from you. Hello, Sarah. Sarah, you would like to know, when do their manes start to grow? Now, normally we even start to see their manes sort of just starting to develop long tufts of hair on the side of their face from about 6 months old. But it takes them 6 years for the boys to grow a full mane. Isn't that a long time? Now, this one looks like it's trying to have a nap on this log, but if it's not careful, it's going to fall off. And one of the siblings, look at this one, is playing with a branch. And they're jumping up and pulling it down. But don't worry, this tree is not really getting hurt in the process. It's got very flexible branches, which makes for a great toy for these young cubs. Did you hear the zebra bleating in the background? Now, it sounds like the zebra are shouting about something, and it sounds like they're near a watering hole. And lions will eat zebras. I know it sounds sad, but it's very, very important that the lions eat too. Remember, we don't feed them. Now, Serena, you're wondering, how old are the lions, those little lions, when they start to hunt? They will get... Sorry, Serena, did you see the little cub jump up and fall on its back? So, Serena, when they get to about 1.5 years old, they're going to go out and join their parents on hunts. But they won't actively be trying to catch something. They'll be just standing back and watching and trying to learn, of course, from the parents. And when they get a bit older, when they get to about 2 years old, then they're probably going to start going in. Let's see if we can reposition very quickly, because it seems as though they've moved. So I'm just going to reverse and then move forward. Now, Lily, you're wondering, when do the mothers stop carrying the cubs in their mouth? Now, actually, quite early. They don't usually carry the young in their mouths for too long. Let's just get a nice gap for David. How's that, David? Is that all right? There we go. So we normally only see that for the first 2, maybe even 3 months of their life. And then after that, they get big so quickly that they can't pick them up anymore. And as soon as also they can move around easily, often we see the moms will have more than one baby, and they will choose the cub to carry the sort of the one that isn't as quick at learning to run around as the others. But you can see they have settled down now. There's a big lioness. So there's looks like one of the moms. And all the little cubs now are settling down and going back to sleep. Now, Vivian, you're wondering, how long are lions pregnant for? Not very long. For only 3.5 months. Can you believe that? That's not long at all. To be exact, almost about 110 days. So it's very difficult to tell when a lion is pregnant. Normally it's just the last couple of weeks. I can even hear some elephants breaking some trees in the distance on the other side of the drainage line. And if those elephants come too close, these lions will get up and run away with all their little cubs. Not that the lions are particularly scared of the elephants, but of course, you know, an elephant is quite big and can hurt these little cubs. Now, Harriet, you're wondering, how long do the lions live for? Not very long. These big lionesses can live up to about 16 years old. And of course, the males don't live for as long as the females. They can live for about 12 years but I would say an average age is probably about 10 years old. It looks like this little cub is hungry and wants to suckle. So he's saying, hello, how are you? Going to give each other a couple of kisses and licks and cuddles. And then I'm sure it's going to try and suckle and drink some milk. No, not that one. I'm sure it will try another one. That's the youngest lioness that cub is going up to. And they all love each other. No, she hasn't got any mammary glands for you to suckle from. Oh, this is so exciting. I believe that James has got the tallest creature in Africa for you.
Well, I've got the second tallest thing in Africa, everybody. Brian, the cameraman, is in fact the tallest creature in Africa. But this is the second tallest creature in Africa. I am, of course, talking absolute nonsense. That is the tallest creature, and he's a very tall example of a very tall creature. Is he not, Brian?
Yes.
Indeed he is. Probably about 4.5 meters tall. That is enormous. And you can see that he's got a big fat bump on the front of his head. Now, many of you, of course, would have bumped your heads during the course of your childhoods. I know I bumped my head a few times, didn't you, Brian?
I did.
Absolutely. And you get a little egg on the top of your head and you bump your head. And if you keep bumping your head again and again, eventually that egg will become permanent. And that's what's happened with just this giraffe. You can see he's got eggs behind his horns and in front of them and around his eyes. Now that's because he keeps bumping his head against other giraffes' heads and their necks and their legs, and they fight with each other when they want to mate with the females. And that's just generally what happens with basically all mammals around the world. They have a fight with each other. And you know, I'm sure many of you know what rugby is. Many of you probably watch or play rugby. And if you play rugby for long enough, you don't quite get the same kind of bumps on your head, but your skull will get a little bit thicker in the same way that giraffe has. And the bigger that, what we call, it's called a median horn, everyone. And the bigger that median horn is, the older we think he is. Emma, I'm going to have to ask you to answer your own question. You said, how many spots does a giraffe have? Emma, I've never counted. Brian, have you counted how many spots a giraffe has? No. Emma, I'm not sure I can count that high. Every single giraffe, Emma, will have different spots and a different number of spots. Now, I'm just going to talk a little bit more quietly. And the other thing I want you to notice about this giraffe is that you can see him chewing, right? But you will notice that he hasn't eaten anything. Now, why do you think that might be the case? Why don't you send through an answer to me? I will ask you a question. You can tell me why you think that giraffe is chewing, but he's not eating anything. And I'll try and give you a clue. We'll just get to the side of him, and we'll see if I can't give you a little bit of a clue. Now, watch him carefully. Watch his cheeks. Oh, he's a very old fellow. You can see he looks old. He's lived a long, good life out here in the African wilderness. Now, watch how the cheeks are getting smaller, smaller, slowly. Watch him. Now he's going to swallow very shortly. Don't move, giraffe. Come on, fellow. Just keep watching, everybody. Be patient. There, he's swallowing. Now watch his mouth. Watch his mouth very carefully. Whoop! Did you see that, everyone? Now, Lucy, while you decide what on earth this giraffe is eating, you want to know how old he is. Well, it's very difficult to say because I haven't known him since he was a baby. And we think that giraffe lived probably in this area to around about 18 years, maybe 20 if they're very lucky. Now, this guy is pretty old, but he's in good condition. So I'm going to say that I think he's probably about 14 or 15. He's probably got a couple of years old left in him. Anybody have any idea what he's eating? Watch him do it again. I'll give you a clue, everyone. Think of a cow. Think of a cattle. Now, Rosie, another good question from you. you want to know how long a giraffe is pregnant for. Well, this giraffe obviously is a bull giraffe, so he's never going to be pregnant at all. But the females are pregnant for about 13 or 14 months. Now they are the only ruminant, and I've just given you the answer to my quiz, they're the only ruminant that has a gestation period, which is the period that they're pregnant, longer than a year. Here he goes again. You watching? Now what he's doing, everybody, I want you not to be put off your lunches or that you've just had. I think you've probably just had them. He's actually vomiting into his mouth and re-chewing his food. Now that's totally normal. It's what all of the ruminants do, and I'm sure many of you in your science classes would have learnt about cattle and the fact that they regurgitate, they ruminate, they chew their food twice. Now a giraffe is exactly the same. It's got 4 stomachs, and it first eats the leaves, they go down into the first stomach, and then they come up into the mouth again, and then through the other parts of the stomach. And Emma and Lily, you thought he was grinding his teeth. No, he's not grinding his teeth, but interestingly, you know, they do actually have to keep chewing because their teeth keep growing, and if they don't have to chew like he's chewing now, their teeth will just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it'll be very uncomfortable for them. Isn't that fascinating? And as you can see, our rain has gone away, the blue sky is out, the sun is going to set shortly in the west. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful evening for us here in South Africa, where the summer is with us, as you, shame poor people, are going into the English winter. Well, my sister lives in England, and she says, "Ooh, it's very cold there." And Amelie, that's a very good name. I have a friend with a daughter called Amelie, and you, very cleverly, you were the only one in the class who got the answer correct, that you knew that this giraffe was a ruminant, that he was re-chewing his food in the same way that cattle do. Brilliant. Isn't he a wonderful fellow? Okay, we're going to carry on, Brian and I, see what else we can find round the corner hereabouts. Let's head back to Taylor and the wonderful Djuma Pride.
These lions have gone straight to sleep. They've gone from playing around and jumping down. And you'd think that if you just got here, they'd been sleeping the whole afternoon, but little does anybody know. We got here just at the right time. Now, this is normally the time of the day where they start to wake up, but it seems as though they're sneaking in one last siesta. But they have moved quite a distance from where we left them earlier today. So I think that they're going to need to rest now if they are wanting to try and go hunting a little bit later. Now, Sophia, you're wondering if lions eat any plants. Now, not typically. They'll just eat meat, but sometimes when they're feeling a little bit ill, they will eat grass, and that will help make them vomit and try and make them feel better if there is something inside them that is making them feel sick. But they've got very, very strong stomachs, so they are even able to eat meat that is rotting. They're fast asleep now. Unfortunately, we won't be able to stay with these lions for too much longer because there are lots of people who want to come and have a look at them. So we'll just spend a couple more minutes here looking at these beautiful lions as they rest peacefully. Now you can see some of the little ones having something to drink. Layla, what a fantastic question. You would like to know if the lion's eyes are more sensitive during the day or at night. Now, lions have got fantastic eyesight at any time of the day, really. But at night, their eyes become much better than the animals that they are looking to hunt. So I think during the day, they're a bit more sensitive because there's more light. At night, their vision is not as good as what it is during the day, but that's okay, as long as it's better than the animals that they are hunting, and which indeed it is. You see that you can probably hear that there are a couple of vehicles moving around here, and there's very, very limited space as to how we can view these lions with all the trees around them, so we're going to have to pull out in just a moment. You can hear that little cub, though, is not ready to go to sleep. And you can see they're starting to look a little bit thin now. So hopefully after a good sleep later on this evening, they're perhaps going to go and look for something to eat. Maybe those zebra. Now, Amelie, you're wondering if one of these lions, these adult lions, are the leader. They don't all have, there's no sort of leader in a matriarchal group. Well, I don't think so. I think they are all superior, all sort of on the same level. Sorry. Now, I reckon, though, depending on their age, I think the oldest one that'll have the most experience will probably take the lead in maybe a hunt. But they all sort of listen to each other. But it is the girls that run the pride. The boys, they come and go. And it's the first time we've seen the sun all day. It's been so cloudy here. So isn't this wonderful? So we're unfortunately going to have to say goodbye to these lions now, but I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe we'll come back here a little bit later and see what they get up to. But I hope you enjoyed that. But let's go back across to James and see if he's got anything.
We didn't have anything, everybody, but now we do. And it's a young elephant bull. He's coming towards us, so we're going to talk a little bit quietly. Just because we don't want him to affect him. We don't want to make a noise around him and give him a fright. And he's on his own because this is what bulls do. They live on their own from about the age of 17 or 18. I'd say he's probably about 17 or 18 now, which means he'll be a little bit afraid of being on his own for too long. And Vivian, while we look at that elephant now, you see where he's standing under that tree where the bird's flying? That'll give you an idea. You say, how tall can elephants grow? I'm just going to move now. Vivian, a big elephant will stand about 3 meters at the shoulder. So that's pretty tall. And sometimes a little bigger than that even, but about 3 meters at the shoulder. And by the shoulder, I don't know if you've, I mean, sort of the top of his back. And maybe you know about horses, and horses' withers are their shoulders. It's the same thing on an elephant, so it would be around about 3 meters at the wither. We'll just have one more look at him there. The reason I'm looking to the left is that I saw 2 very big birds of prey, but they've disappeared. Now, what I want you to try and do, everybody, is just be very quiet for the next 20 seconds. And when I say now, I want you to breathe in and through your nose, and I'm going to tell you what it smells like to be in Africa. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Just listen carefully. Now shut your eyes, and what you can feel is the African sun on your face. It's a little bit hotter than your sun that you get there in England. And I can smell fresh rain on the ground. That smells about the same as it does in England. I can smell this elephant, which smells like sweet leather. You imagine a saddle or something like that with slightly sweeter smell than that. I can smell a spicy plant that I've just driven over by mistake, and I'll actually get out and fetch it for you now. It's a lovely sort of cinnamon type smell that's in the air. And I can hear a red-chested cuckoo going. An orange-breasted bushrat going. Right, now Lily, you're wondering how long their tusks can get. Well, Lily, they get very long indeed in some elephants. You know, sometimes those tusks can reach the ground. So that would be, I guess, almost 3 meters long if you were to go all the way to the root, which is inside the top of the skull. So it could be about 3 meters long, but normally not that long. Normally the elephants in this particular area will get tusks probably about 1 meter long. Isn't he wonderful? Now, I'm going to just quickly do something. I'm going to sneak out of the car. Now, if you ever come to Africa, you don't do this. I'm just doing it because I know what I'm doing, and I can see the elephant's not watching us. And I'm just going to pick a plant. I'm not going to go close to him at all. Just quickly want to get this plant to show you what it smells like. I was talking about. Oh, so lovely. It's a kind of, I guess it's a little bit like a herb, like sort of saffron, I suppose. And look at the beautiful purple flowers. Isn't that gorgeous? And this has just come up as a result of the rain that we've had here. So we've got elephants and lions, but we've also got the most beautiful flowers that smell delicious. It's half the reason that I like to live out here, is for the smell of the bush. And you know what there is else here, Brian? It's a tiny little spider. Can you see it? It's just over where my finger is pointing now. It's on that floret there. There it is. See the little spider, everyone? That spider is probably about 1 millimeter wide by 2 millimeters long. Every little piece of vegetation here has got something that likes to eat it. And I think that this spider will be waiting for whatever insect it is that pollinates the plant. You can see there, it will come and pick up the pollen. That's amazing. All right, let's have one last look at this elephant, and then we'll head on and see what else we can find. There he is. He's going to be eating, everybody. By the time he's fully grown, he will weigh 6 tons, that's 6,000 kilograms, and he'll eat between 250 and 300 kilograms of food every single day. Just think about that. If all of you're about 9 and 10 years old, so you probably weigh, I'm guessing, around about 20 kilograms each. Probably even a little bit less than that. That elephant will eat the equivalent, if you imagine imagine 15 of you standing in a group, roughly the whole weight of your class. I'm imagining you've got a class of about 20 people or so. Every single one of you piled together on a scale, that's how much he will eat in one day when he is a fully grown bull, which will probably only be when he's about 35. Isn't that amazing? Okay, let's carry on and see what else we can find. We'll just nip around the corner here. We're heading towards a little waterhole. Maybe there'll be some buffalo lying there. Oh, sorry, I haven't plugged myself in, so I can't even hear your questions. There we are. Sorry about that. Going to be in big trouble. Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to say goodbye to you. I hope you will join us on safari again. I hope you also have a wonderful day there in Surrey and enjoy what you learn. Right, and for the rest of you, we'll carry on and do as I said. We'll go and past the waterhole here. Doesn't seem to be anything going on there. We're still hoping for some tracks of Karula, our favourite female leopard. Now, there were some African hawk eagles flying through here, hunting, and that's why I was a little bit distracted at that elephant to start with. I hoped we might be able to see them. The first time I stopped for them, there they are. Can you see them, Brian? I bet you can, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to get them on the camera. They're in a marula tree, just in the middle of this block. You see them there? You got them. You can see them, but do you think you can get a picture of them? Maybe from here. You got them. They're there, I promise everybody. Brian will reveal them shortly. There they are. Now, that's not the best African hawk eagle sighting we'll ever have, but I just wanted to prove to you that I wasn't completely mad and that I saw them hunting through the woodland there. And we heard the squirrels going crazy and the mongoose going crazy as they flew off their perch. But it doesn't look like they were particularly successful. Oh well. Right, let's carry on down to Twin Dams. We'll take the route of the Mlwamati. Taylor has rather macabrely made her way, I think, to Buffelshoek Dam, to quite a sad scene.
Look at how beautiful the sky is now that the clouds are starting to disappear. And remember how I said to you in the beginning of the show, the maintenance team had been out and repairing some of the roads after the rain, and especially after the rain we had about a week ago that caused quite a bit of erosion. Now, I went to Buffelshoek Dam and I saw that the buffalo was not there anymore, and I think what has happened here is the maintenance team has come around and actually dragged that buffalo out, perhaps with a tractor, and for good reason, as we know, when you have something like a carcass in a water source, it will pollute it. So I can understand why they did pull it out, and they moved it away. So here it lays, and we will see if anything comes to eat it. Now, normally we don't like to interfere, as you know, but I suppose that is a special occasion, and I've known it to be done on many different reserves that I've worked on before, is when the carcasses do die in the water, and say the hyenas haven't come straight away to drag it out. They have indeed removed it. And they haven't moved it too far from the dam at all, but they've just deposited it over here. Isn't that wonderful? You see the dam is just down over there in the distance. And I think it was a good move that they did. But sadly, that means that the terrapins lose out on a tasty meal, and you saw how they were enjoying themselves, gorging on all the ticks, but hopefully they got their fill. Now, we're going to carry on, though. We're going to see what else we can perhaps find along the way. Now, what we're going to do is we're not going to go too far away, and the reason being is I'm hoping that maybe in half an hour or so, that the other guides would have come in and had a quick look at those lions, and then hopefully the pressure on that sighting will die down a little bit and allow for us to go back in and have another look at those inkahumas. And I think we got there just in the nick of time to see them playing around and having sort of the best sighting, really. And then they laid down to have a nap. But I've got my radio on. I'm listening to see if anybody has said anything. And I didn't find those zebra either. Remember I said to you we could hear all those zebra. It sounded like they were alarming. But I'm not sure what they were alarming at. Maybe they will pop up somewhere. And I think David also thinks so. I think we're going to have a spectacular sunset tonight, which is exciting, because it's been so cloudy and overcast that we haven't really had the greatest one. So tonight will be the night, especially with all these light, fluffy clouds. I think that we're going to see lots of lovely purples and reds and oranges this evening. And of course, you know, my favorite spot for the sunsets is Quarantine, because of that lovely gradient. And then you often get all the impala and inyala and various animals going onto those plains to rest up for the night. So sometimes you get the most incredible silhouette shots. So that's probably going to be our plan at some point as well. But we've still got about an hour or so, maybe even a little bit longer before that sun goes down. But we will just carry on driving around, seeing what else we can find out here in the wilderness. Well, let's see what we've got here. Lots of termite mounds. It looks like the termites have been quite busy. Let's find one. Let's look at this one. Now, of course, as I mentioned that, I've just driven past all the termite mounds that have actively added some chimneys and things. But isn't this a beautiful one now that it lights up in the sunset? And I love how each mound is completely different from the next one. Some of them build them nice and tall and narrow, like we're seeing here. And then you've got other ones that sort of make them quite wide and broad with lots of little towers. Let's see if we can find some of those. Now these big termite mounds, as we've been chatting and we've shown you quite a few of the actual termites, you know, are the large fungus growing termites, and they make various shapes. See now, look at this one. This is quite interesting. And look how big this one is. This is obviously much older than the one we just saw. So perhaps in a couple of years or so, that smaller one we just looked like will look something along the lines of this one. You can see that gentle breeze now. It's much warmer than what it's been in pretty much the entire day. It is lovely out here. But hopefully, after we see an incredible sunset, hopefully we're going to see some more thick clouds come over and get another downpour of rain. That's what they forecasted for the week. Let's see if we can find any insects maybe along the way to see. Seeing as though the rain is now finished, so I think that we're going to get a couple of shongololos or millipedes and maybe a few other interesting things coming out. Well, I think especially this evening. But it seems as though James is doing a cruise down the Mulwati. Let's go over and take a look and see what he's got.
Now, I think I just spotted a gymnogene or African harrier hawk just through here. Ah. It wasn't, was it, Brian?
No.
What was it, Brian?
Grey go-away bird.
Yes, it was a grey go-away bird, which is... It's almost exactly the same as an African harrier hawk, isn't it, Brian?
Exactly the same.
Almost exactly the same, except for the fact that it is half the size, has no pink or red face, is not a raptor of any sort, and basically doesn't look anything like. What it is eating, though, are the new buds, I think, on this Acacia robusta tree, or the splendid thorn. It's rather a splendid sighting, isn't it, on the splendid thorn? The splendid thorn only grows, everybody, in the drainage line areas. Quite tempted to see what those things taste like. So not eating it is eating leaves to a certain extent, but I think it's largely the buds of the leaves. No, those are fully grown leaves it's eating. It's fascinating, actually. I didn't know they did that. They're supposed to be frugivorous in much the same way as crested barbets are frugivorous. But they will eat, obviously, lots of other things, because if you're frugivorous out here, if you're a fruitarian out here, and that's all you're prepared to eat, well, you're not going to last more than one season. Yes, that is exactly what I said. So carry on eating your leaves. Go on. That's it.
Where?
He's only just realised, I think, that he's been spotted. Isn't that a gorgeous picture? Backlit by the sun. Lovely. And just perching very peacefully on the tree there, thinking about whether or not we pose any danger at all, and clearly deciding that we're not that dangerous. Alrighty, let's press on. Well, let me move slightly forward and then we'll get an idea, Dina. You say how much bigger than a cuckoo is a grey go-away bird? Well, it's much bigger than a Diederik's cuckoo, which is tiny. I will give you some measurements now, but it's about the same size, I suppose, lengthwise, as a striped cuckoo or Lavallian's cuckoo, which is even bigger. Let me just have a quick look. Alright. Torako. Just quickly look. Right, the go-away bird is supposed to be 49 centimeters, everybody. That is 50, say call it 50 centimeters, so it's just shy of 2 feet. Just shy of 2 feet long. Now, the biggest cuckoo we get here, I think, is the Lavallian's or the great spotted. Let's find out. We haven't shown you a great spotted this year, have we? I know I've seen one, and Taylor's definitely seen one. But I don't know if we've managed to actually show them to you this season or not. Now, the African cuckoo is, yes, only a foot long. The classes, which is the same size as the Diedrich's tiny little thing, is only about half a foot long. Diedrich's the same. I will get there eventually, everybody. Black cuckoo, a foot. Red-chested cuckoo, 1 foot. Thick-billed cuckoo, 1 foot. Great spotted is 39 centimeters, so it's still a good 2/3 of a foot shorter than that chap. And the Lavalians, our biggest, is also 39 centimeters, which is just over a foot, so about, no, 1 1/4. 1 foot 4. 1 foot 4. So, there we go. We now have a comprehensive understanding of the relative size of the great go-away bird to every single cuckoo species that we have here. Thank you for that, Dinah. I must say, I didn't realize that they, I mean, that's obviously why I confused it for a gymnogene, isn't it, Brian? Yes. It is, of course, shy of 2 feet long, a gymnogene roughly 2.5 feet. Goodbye. Have a lovely afternoon. Now, this is one of those lovely questions that I don't really know how to answer, which makes them doubly good. You say, of all the animals affected by the drought, well, we know that all the mammals were affected, and we know in what way they were. Were the birds also affected? Well, I mean, they must have been. Okay, the most obvious example is the weavers. The weavers didn't even breed last year. Certainly the yellow weavers didn't even, the male yellow weavers hardly got their summer plumage at all. So that affected them. Did it make them thin though? Well, how do you tell if a bird is emaciated and skinny? It's not quite as easy as it is with a buffalo, but I imagine that it must have had an effect. There was far less fruit, so all the fruit-eating birds must have suffered. There were far less insects, so I imagine the insect-eating birds must have suffered as well. So I'm sure there was some suffering. I guess the migrants probably fared slightly better than others, because although there was a severe drought, it only kind of really takes hold after the rainy season. So yeah, I'm sure lots of little chicks didn't make it to adulthood. I'm sure some adults probably dropped dead, stuck the 2 legs in the air as a result of the drought. But it isn't nearly as obvious, is it, Aaron, as it is with the mammals? That's a very good question. Thank you for that. Oh, we had a wonderful monkey sighting here yesterday. David and I, a troop of monkeys feeding on a jackalberry tree that's just come into fruit. And it was so fascinating watching, just like human beings, or it's a bit like the Wild Earth staff in the kitchen when there's a bag of avocados there. We all go in and test them and then reject them mostly, and then take out, you know, we're very lucky if you find one that's ripe. And in much the same way, the monkeys were sitting in the jackalberry tree today, at least yesterday, and they were testing all the fruits, and then they'd eat the good ones and they'd leave the rest for later. It was amazing to watch. We're just around the corner here, and we'll just see if we can't get a view. Watch your head here, Brian. You know you are the tallest creature in Africa. There we go. There's the jackalberry tree. Now, that tree looked to me to be imminently climbable, wouldn't you say, Brian?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to go and fetch some jackalberry fruits for us. Should Kirsten wish to link, you will tell me and I will then link. Yep. Right? Good. I've really got into trouble once today, everybody. I wasn't plugged in when I should have been. How's my audio?
That's good.
Good, good. You'll tell me if it breaks up, will you?
I will.
Good. Now one is going to be very careful walking up here. Good. Looks all right. Now, this is a tambuti tree mixed in with the jackalberry tree. And we just want to get to a position where we can get hold of one ripe jackalberry fruit, because they are very delicious indeed. Do I look like a monkey, Brian?
Always, James.
I always look like a monkey. Well, that's not always my intention. Whoops, daisies. I think all the low-hanging fruit, as it were, has been taken, Brian.
Oh dear.
I'm not sure I can get to any of the high-hanging fruit without doing myself some sort of an injury. Can you still see me?
I can.
God. No, I can't get at it. You know what the case is here, everybody? Is that this is the jackalberry tree, but none of the leaves are actually around me. All of this is tambuti tree. And mixed into the tambuti tree, it's astounding. There's also a Cumbritan bush, and I can't see where it comes from. So 3 different trees occupying the same space. And I can see the little drupes or fruits of jackalberry all over the edge here. And I think the monkeys have taken all the low-hanging stuff. Oh well. Good. I shall come back down now, hoping fervently that Kirsten will link away in case I fall off. But quite often she just likes to see if I aren't going to fall down for amusement value. Not so, Brian.
No.
So far, all right. You can hear all the orioles calling, and I'm hoping also to show you at some stage the European golden oriole, which has a beautiful, beautiful feathering. In fact, there's an oriole just above me. You can't see it, can you, Brian?
Not currently, no.
Okay, never mind. Never mind. I'm almost down. Oh dear, I think I've got a branch in my pants. Oh, that's horrible.
Well done, James.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much. It's a good tree, that one. Sorry I couldn't get any fruit for you, everybody. I know you're all starving. What was that about Casey in New York?
She wants to know how tall I am.
Oh, how tall Brian is. Brian is enormous. Brian, how tall are you?
I am 6'4".
6 feet and 4 inches. That is a substantial amount of human being in one package.
Better believe it.
I, on the other hand, Casey, am 5 feet and 8 inches tall. Which is a good 8 inches shorter than Brian. Taylor has found you something quite astonishing, everybody. She's found you something that, well, you could probably expect to find everywhere in the world.
We were looking at the sky and just admiring the beautiful clouds this afternoon. Should we have a look? Isn't that absolutely fantastic? Now, David's very concerned because he says they're burning away too quickly, and he's obviously hoping for a wonderful sunset this afternoon, which I'm sure we're going to get. And guess what? We're back with the kahumas. Everybody has sort of left them as they sleep, but you know how patient I am, and I think that we were so sort of very lucky to see how they were jumping around earlier, and it's okay, they're allowed to have a little break. But you can see one lioness is up and grooming herself. The cubs, however, are fast asleep. But that must have been quite exhausting, the way that they were bounding around and tackling trees and falling out of trees. It's only sort of, well, we were expecting it, that they were going to have the sugar down, and then go back to sleep again. But we will see. We'll sit here. It's cooling down nicely. It was strange. It just got hot for probably about 20 minutes. We had to take all our jackets off, and well, now as the sun is dropping lower and lower, it's starting to get cool, and I think we're going to maybe have a chilly evening tonight. Look at that little one all cuddled in nicely. That's a good spot, wedged between two lionesses. That must be very comfortable. Now, when they were standing up earlier, you saw that those lionesses were on the thin side. Like I said, it's very unusual. We haven't seen them with flat bellies for quite some time now. So I wonder what their plan is going to be this evening, if they're going to go and search for perhaps for a buffalo, or maybe follow up on those zebra that were alarming earlier. Maybe the zebra are on their way here. We won't know, and we'll just have to sit and wait and see what happens, of course. But fast asleep, these little lions are. They're making me sleepy. I'm going to have to do a big yawn soon. Except my teeth aren't as impressive as the lions are. Now what I'm hoping is going to happen is this lion's going to wake up and wake everyone else up. Now, Jarrett, you're wondering if it is going to be normal to allow these... Did I get that right, Kirsty? Sorry, I missed the beginning part. Are we talking about the male cubs joining the Birmingham? Ah, there we go. Thank you. That was a vital word I was missing. Sorry, Jarrett. I missed the one vital word there. So you would like to know, would it be abnormal to allow these young male lion cubs to join up with the Birminghams? That is indeed correct. I don't think that would happen at all, and I don't know if it's ever really been recorded, but I can tell you a story of what I have seen. You know me, I'm always full of stories. Is down in the south, there was a beautiful male lion, and he went by the name of Solo. And the reason being was he was all on his own. And at one point, he was the main dominant male of the Southern Pride, and the Southern Pride was quite large. At one point there were 22 lions strong. Then there were takeovers by various males, and eventually that Solo male got kicked out and off he went. He then joined up with another male lion that was also on his own, a little bit younger than what he was, and they called him the Kruger male, just because he came from Kruger and it just happened to be fitting. So Solo and the Kruger male joined up at an old age. They must have been at least about 8 or 9 years old, and they lived out their days happily together. Now that is quite unusual, because typically the bonds are formed between the male lions at a young age, and typically they've sort of formed the bond for a couple of years as they were growing up together. So I found that pretty interesting. So anything is possible. I just think that these cubs are just too young. The age gap between of course, the Birminghams and these little ones is too large. So I don't think that they would be too bothered by them, and I think that they would chase them out, because essentially they're competition for those Birminghams. I did hear the elephants. Now, I'm not sure if it's an entire herd of elephants or just a couple of bulls or maybe a small breeding herd, but it's the same ones that we heard earlier. And they seem to be moving closer. I still can't see them though, so they must be just in a thicket on the other side of this drainage line. Come on, lions. I think you've had a good 25-minute nap now. Oh, wasn't that adorable? Now that makes for a great pillow. That fluffy tummy, and of course now, well, that tail was moving very quickly. And I'm sure this little one is going to chase it. Either that or play with the baboon's tail, which it is doing now. Oh, that's bendy. Now that must be really nice to play with because it is so soft. Like I said, it's very fibrous. So it'd be very nice to chew on. Quite satisfying. They're enjoying the baboon's tail at the moment. No, I wouldn't eat that. I don't think that that would taste very nice, little one. You can see a little bit of mange on this one's legs, and a little bit on the tummy, but it looks like the hair is starting to grow back though. I think that they're looking good. You see how those little bits of hair are starting, that new hair that's coming through? At one point, some of them had no skin at all, no hair at all, sorry, on their elbows down to their paws. Oh, it is. It's our little floppy girl. Is it her? She's looking. If that is her, I can't see her. Turn around for us so we can have a look. Yes, it is. I think it is. Is it, David? It does look like it, hey? Yes, I think it is. But it even looks like her ear is starting to improve slightly. She definitely looks much better now. But we'll get a proper view. Yeah, there we go. That's definitely her. Remember how it used to flop so much? And she was running around too quickly for us earlier this afternoon to have a proper look at her. Well, I also couldn't keep my eyes on one lion as they were racing about and climbing trees and tackling each other. But she's definitely looking a lot healthier. Now, here's an interesting question from Debbie. Debbie wants to know, how much, if I would guess, do I think that these cubs weigh? So I reckon those teddy bear cubs probably weigh maybe about 5 kilograms or so, somewhere around there. I think they're heavier than we think. And that little cub over there, that looks like one of the middle-aged cubs, probably a little bit more. Maybe the teddy bear is only 3 or 4 kilograms, maybe less. And maybe this little one about 5. And I think the oldest cubs are probably close to about 10 kilograms, maybe 8 or 9, somewhere around there. I'm obviously just guessing now. I'm not 100% certain, of course, so let's try and do that conversion in pounds. Now, I'm not very good, of course, so I would say about 15 pounds, maybe 16 pounds for the oldest cubs, about 10 pounds, 11 pounds for the middle-aged cubs, and about 8.5 pounds or so for the other cubs, maybe 9 pounds, somewhere around there. But I suppose you get what I'm trying to get at. Not very heavy indeed. But they'll grow quickly, and you're going to be quite shocked as to how quick the eldest cubs are going to grow now that they've reached 6 months. You'll see when they get to a year, they're almost going to double in size, and it's going to happen very, very quickly. Now, I'm quite curious to see the improvement of this little cub as she sort of fights the mange, because it isn't flopping as much as it used to. So this is fascinating. Maybe it's going to heal completely, and then she's going to look just like the other cubs again. Now, we often see the lions all grooming each other, and I know that we actually watched it this morning, where we watched one of the lionesses pick the ticks out of one of the young cubs' coats. Now, Jenny from Texas, you're wondering if the lionesses are grooming the cubs and removing all the ticks from them. Do I think that they're also removing the mites that are causing the mange? Now, I don't think so. The reason being is because the way that I understand it is that those mites burrow into the skin and into the hair follicle itself and that's what they're feeding on. That's how I understand it. So I think even though they're licking the surface, I don't think that that's removing the mites. But I think that their immune system is building up. That's obviously helping. You can see the lions have heard something. The only thing I've heard, of course, is those elephants pushing a couple of trees down. But let's see what they're so interested in. Another one has gone up now, one of the other lionesses, but they're all looking back towards the drainage line. David, can you see anything? Where are they going? Now they're walking towards the drainage line. The cubs aren't going. Remember, their eyesight is so fantastic that they can probably see quite a few meters through that thick vegetation. Something has definitely caught their attention. Maybe it's something small like a common duiker or a bushbuck that's lurking on the banks. Looks like they're fanning out now. Let's see what goes on here. You hear me shuffling. It's just me trying to get a better view into this drainage line. See, even the little cubs have popped their heads up now, so they've also seen whatever the adults are looking at. I can't see anything. I'm just going to try and see what these lionesses are going to do. The one has gone off into the distance and down towards the drainage. She's sort of slinking away. The third one has got up now. You can see the one lioness looks like she's going to go straight down into the drainage line. We're going to stick back here because we've got the cubs in front of us, so I'm not going to be able to follow them just yet. Oh, there goes the game drive radio. Now, Steve, you were wondering how the lion hearing compares to human. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I think that's a very difficult thing to try and test. Gosh, she's one lioness. They've seen something. Steve, I'm going to get back to your question now. We want to just quickly watch and focus. One lioness has gone down. They've sort of flanked. So one's gone to the left and one's gone to the right, and into the drainage line they're off to. Because it's so thick here, and I've got these cubs in front of me, and I don't want to disturb the hunt, we're going to hold our position. We're going to be patient and just see what goes on here. I don't want to disturb this process because I'm going to have to drive over a couple of branches, and that could alert whatever prey species is down in this dip, and we don't want that. Sorry, Steve, I'll get to your question now. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's very difficult to say exactly how the human hearing is versus the lion's hearing, but I can tell you right now that their hearing is probably 150 times better than ours because they're hearing something. I don't know if they saw something. I didn't hear anything except the elephants breaking the branches, and they're looking the opposite way. But it's just much better. All these animals have got much better hearing than us. And you notice it straight away. When I go to the city and I come back to the bush, for the first couple of days I'm back in the bush, I'm deaf. I can't hear the birds. I can't hear anything anymore. Let's just sit and watch what happens. What have you guys seen down there? I just want to take my earpiece out. I think I can hear something in the distance. I thought that I heard sort of like movement through the bushes, but far west of us. We all saw those lions at one point. They turned their heads and looked west. I think it was the same thing that we heard. Look how that lion, she's just sitting on the edge of the bank. There's still a couple of elephants around. I can still hear them feeding. Now, I know you're probably all sitting there going, I want to know what those lions are looking at, but I don't want to go any closer. So we'll only move once we either hear a distress call or if these lions do start running. But for now, we're just going to sit right here and just observe. Remember, lion hunts sometimes don't just happen in a couple of minutes like what we've been fortunate to see. I've sat and watched lions going after. Oh, listen. I don't know if you heard that very far away. There's a male lion roaring in the far distance. It sounds like it could still be on Torchwood somewhere, but possibly coming back this way. We know one male went across this morning, most likely Tinyo. Maybe he's on his way back, or maybe it's even Mfumo who was seen mating with one of the Styx lions. Just want to turn the game drive radio on. Trying to listen if I can hear if anyone's mentioned this male lion, and maybe where exactly he is. But all the lionesses now are up and slinking towards the drainage, just as the other three have done. No, little cubs, you guys are not going on this one, I'm afraid. They've been told to stay. It could really be anything. It could be the zebra that we heard earlier. It could be a buffalo bull moving along the drainage line, which they are very fond of doing. It could be a hippo out of the water. I didn't see Henry at Buffelshoek Dam. A kudu. They didn't show this much interest in the impala this morning, so I think it's something much larger than an impala. Look at the cubs though, how they're also watching. All keen. No, guys, don't go. You have to stay behind. You can see itching to go forward because they've seen the hunts before. They've been a part of one, of the takedown, attempting and practicing on a young buffalo calf, which is incredible. Now we just sit and wait until we hear something. Naughty cubs, stay where you are. Don't go down there. Okay, I'm going to turn the radio off. Nobody's mentioned that about that male lion roaring in the distance. The reason why I'm sitting so quietly is because I want to hear if I hear stampeding or one animal running or a distress call. I can hear branches breaking. They're chasing a buffalo. Can you see them in the distance? I think if... Look up. You can go up. They're up there in the corner. I think they've got this buffalo. We're going to need to try and get around. I'm just going to quickly check the GPS as to what is going to be our best bet to get in there. The buffalo is distressing, though. They're across the drainage line. Now I need to try and figure out how are we going to get there. I think Central is too far away. Let's see if we can find a spot to cross. Right, we need to get on the move. I think that they have indeed got a buffalo. I heard a big crash. Let's see if we can get a long distance view. I think we're going to get one. It's going here. I just don't want to disturb those cubs, of course. Right, Yes. Kirsty, can you maybe do it for me and just tell James to come onto Gwaripan Road? And then they're basically between Gwaripan Road and Central. I think they've got a buffalo. I think I should be okay. I think they've got it. I just need to find a way to cross. No, little cubs, don't come here. The cubs are also moving. Can you see them? Let's just take a distance view. Straight ahead, there are the lions. They've got a buffalo. Fantastic. They've got a buffalo. Right. Let's try and find a way to get through here. They've got it pinned down. The cubs are on the way. This is incredible. The Nkuhumas have done it again. Now, I need to stress to you that, of course, as sad as what this is going to be, it's important. These lions haven't eaten for a couple of days now. Those cubs are hungry. This is well deserved. Now we're going to do, I think we might be able to get through. David, are you ready to do some off-roading? Kirsty, I should be fine. I've got them. They're not racing around. I'm just finding a way to cross. We're just trying to decide if we're going to get James in here or not, but I think we will be okay. We're just going to get up this little bank, but I think we've got a spot here. Fantastic. Well done, Nkuhumas. And I'm sad for the buffalo, but the buffalo does need, it sacrificed itself for these lovely lions and, of course, the beautiful little cubs, so they can have a meal. You go, biscuits. You are such fantastic lions. And again, these lions are the lions that are changing the statistics. Lions are not successful hunters. Out of every 10 hunts, they take something down 3 times. I'm going to go up here. Just watch your head. And they are proving us wrong time and time again. Look at this. I need to call it in on the radio. That is incredible. It looks like a young buffalo. I don't think it's particularly old. Let me just call this in quickly. On mobiles, the Nkuhumas have just killed it looks like a young buffalo. We're basically south of the drainage from where they were on Gwaripan. Best access is to still come onto Gwaripan, the last lock. You will get my visual from the road. There's just myself here. Right, it is a young buffalo. Now, I'm assuming that the radio is going to start going ballistic in a moment. Here comes the first cub. Now, this is something that we've been seeing quite a bit of, is these buffalo, these juveniles all on their own. There's no adults around. So possibly it's become weakened and unfortunately got left behind from the herd. And you can hear that buffalo discourse trying to catch its breath. But I think it's hard to tell. I think that one of the lionesses has got it by the jugular. And it looks thin. This buffalo is showing its hip